Alright, hello everybody and welcome to the first match in the Ro64 tournament. We're currently going into the first round of 64 match, which is going to be Jazzman versus Spade. So it's definitely a bit of an interesting match. This is kind of more or less middle-ish, seed 25 versus seed 40. But it is now time for rolls. So here we go. It's definitely going to be a bit of an interesting match. I do believe Jazzman having a really strong, being really strong for SV, as we did see in qualifiers. I do believe they got C2 with an SV for qualifiers, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see. It definitely did help their seeds a lot, but Sphadelol generally being, I'd say, well-rounded as well. So if we do quickly look over at the stats, 1 second, let me pull these up. So Spade winning the roll, getting to either protect or ban first, but with these stats pulled up, I do. Okay, yeah, so Jazzman was a third on SV, 16th on stage 2, and 10th within stage 4. So having really strong LN accuracy, falling off a little bit when it comes to Rice. And let me find Spade, which is seed 42, which is generally a well-rounded player. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see a well-rounded player versus more of an LN SB player. So it looks like we're going to see a Spade going for the first protect. So yeah, Jazzman going for an LN Protect on LN1, which does make a lot of sense, being the coordination pick, being a little bit of a slower LN map, and definitely going to be testing their ability to play LN. So we see a ban on Rice 2, gonna be the jump stream pan stream pick. Very interesting ban, but I do believe it makes a little bit of sense seeing a Rice ban. Although I would have expected maybe a ban within Rice 4 or maybe Rice 5, but it does make a little bit of sense to see at least one of these Rice maps banned coming from Jazzman. I expect Spade to maybe ban one of the hybrids or maybe one of the LNs. So we do have to kind of wait and see. So LN2 can be interesting ban, but I guess it makes a bit of sense to see one of the LNs banned, although I wouldn't think that maybe LN3 is banned, but regardless, it is Sphadelol's pick now. but I do believe it is Sphadelol's pick now. So we might see Rice 1, maybe Rice 5 being chosen immediately, as we did see a ban on Rice 2, so maybe Rice 5 might be the pick they want to go with. I mean, seeing that they banned jump streaming, hand streaming map, Rice 5 does provide a little bit of that kind of jump streaming, hand streaming type map. While there are some bursts and mini jacks, it does provide almost the same kind of skill set required for Rice 2. So probably looks like Spade wanting to pick Shelter, but it is banned, so gonna have to see what they decide to pick after. I mean, a map like Hotline, Hotline would be a good pick. Seeing that is on the streamier side. But it is now time to get into the pick, so gonna have to see what Spade decides to pick. Very important to make a good pick here, especially as it is first of 4. Each pick matters so much more. This could be very well a close match too, especially seeing how both these players do. I mean, with both the with only 2 Ellens in play, Jazzman's definitely gonna have to kind of make sure to pick the right Ellen map for the 3rd or 4th pick, and kind of seeing what is on the table. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Hybrid 2 being chosen alongside SV1. Yeah, we see Rice 5, which isn't too surprising, kind of expected. I think there's a slight issue within the client. Just 1 second. Let me just restart the client. Just 1 second momentarily while I quickly fix the client, but we will be getting into Rice 5 very shortly. Just waiting for the client to load up. If it loads up. But this is probably a pick that could easily go to Spade if Jazzman isn't careful enough, especially saying that Rice 2 ban. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see kind of a Rice versus Allen hybrid battle, just given the skill sets of both these players. I mean, you have one player who's generally very well rounded, and of course, we do have another player who is more on the kind of Allen accuracy and SV department. I mean, showing very, very strong score on SV in the qualifiers. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it get picked either immediately or very quickly after Rice 5. But currently, just waiting for client to load. And then we will shortly be getting into this. Line's loading, just 1 second. Just loading the songs. We should be getting back into the stream momentarily. Okay, now just to relook line real quick. It should be back up very shortly. Line loading in, so we should be getting into the map very, very shortly. Just have to wait for it to load, and then it should be back up. Line is loading, just taking a little longer than usual. And here we go. So currently looks like Jazzman having the lead. A pretty strong lead at that too. I mean, it does look like there was a potential miss not too long ago. Unsure where it might have been, but definitely gonna be a little confident. Here we go into the ending. It is very easy to kind of miss around this area, but we'll have to see if either of these players do miss around this range. But both players seem to hold a very steady combo throughout. And that does conclude the first song. Going to Jazzman, very interesting. Does look like Jazzman holding a lot better consistency, at least in a map like this one, which is definitely going to be really important, especially with this early match. I could very easily see them going for potentially SV or one of the LNs. But we'll have to see what they do decide to pick, though, especially seeing that they did get this point on Rice 5. It does open the doors up for some of these other Rice picks if they are feeling a little confident with them, and potentially even Hybrid 1. But it looks like we'll be going immediately into to Protect, which is going to be the coordination pick. Which does make a little bit of sense, especially given that it is first to four, so having to pick your Protect is kind of crucial, especially in a match like this. so it's definitely going to be a lot slower compared to these other maps, but it's going to be extremely hard to hold really good accuracy. But here we are going into this next pick. It's looking good for Jazzman, especially with that breakpoint immediately, and kind of seeing Spade banning one of the L1s, and just looking overall throughout the stats, it does look very much in favor of Jazzman, but we will have to see if things do change. In very slowly, but it's immediately going to show a lot of kind of tricky coordination LN patterns, your usual slow LN, especially for a bit of an easier round. It is kind of what you expect. While the snapbacks aren't too complicated, it can be very easy to lose track of what to do. And we do see a miss already coming from Spade very early on, which is definitely not going to kind of pave a path that they might be needing. Especially if we do see another miss, it could definitely show that they aren't too comfortable in a pick like this and not comfortable within the LNs, especially seeing a ban on LN2. It definitely does kind of show what kind of maps they don't want to be playing. And going into the main part of the song, the LNs are going to get a lot more trickier, and I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see another miss coming in already. Definitely not what Spade's gonna want, especially in a very early pick like this, where everything's gonna matter. And especially as this would bring Jazzman into their kind of halfway point into the match, it's definitely not something that Spade wants, especially if they were feeling extremely confident with Rice 5. But they do have their Protect, which could potentially get them their point. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see their Protect get chosen, but Spade not really having the coordination for a map like this, and especially on the accuracy side. But that will conclude it, and Jazzman with a 994 was only one grade. One grade. Definitely something to be afraid of, especially in one of these early matches where slow LN's gonna definitely carry you a lot throughout these maps. Especially if we do see something like LN3 chosen. I mean, a little bit of a techier pick, but it definitely does include a slight slow LN. But it is Fade's pick now, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do decide to choose. I mean, they're probably going to want to avoid... Yes, so they're going to want to avoid all the LNs and probably hybrids. Going for Rice 3. So, going for the more technical pick, which could work in their favor. I do believe they play slightly higher within qualifier stage 2, so it's definitely possible for them to get a point on this one, especially for the somewhat similar nature between the two maps. I mean, you do see a lot of grace notes being utilized within this pick and within the qualifier's tech pick. So maybe something that Jazzman definitely didn't want to choose. I mean, we did see them ban Rice too, so kind of an interesting map to kind of go into. And here we go, going into the tech pick. It's definitely a pick that I can see Spade winning, but if consistency isn't there, it could very easily go to the other side. I'm starting off with some mini jacks, a little bit trickier compared to your usual picks, but it is the tech pick. What can you expect? You see a slight burst, and so far it's really close right now. I mean, it does look like Spade's starting to kind of lose a little bit of accuracy compared to Jazzman. But the lead isn't even that far either. One miss is definitely going to turn the tides, especially with how intrusive some of these patterns are. It could be very easy to mess up, or just get one grade, which is all you need really in a really early round like this just to get a point. Especially with how little notes there are compared to later into the tournament where one grade might not be everything, but in a round like this, one grade could cost you 1.2. But here we are going to get into the main part where you're going to see a lot more trickier patterns, and you are going to see the introduction of Gray Snows, which can easily mess up both of these players' accuracy, but they're holding pretty decent accuracy, especially for the amount of graces utilized. Looks like Spade maybe dropping a grade right there, most likely from one of these grace. And a miss coming, which is definitely going to hurt them. I mean, as we get into a bit of more speedier part, it's definitely going to be a lot easier to miss, especially just because these streams kind of coming in and out. And especially the transition between speed and mini jacks, kind of polar opposite skill sets. It can definitely trip up both of these players if they aren't careful enough. But as we are in the end of the map, it does look like Jazzman is going to take this third point, their second break point, bring it to match point. A really important point that would have been for Spade had there not been those two misses, and potentially a point that they could have ran away with without those two misses. I mean, slightly worse ratio, but you do see only one grade, and those grades could have costed a lot more compared to the amount of perfects seen from Spademan. But it is Jazzman's pit, which it's gonna be interesting to see what they choose. I mean, they have the Tech LN pick, and they have SV as well. I mean, they could very well end the match right here with SV, but they're going for a hybrid too. A very interesting choice, but I guess it does make a little bit of sense. At least looking through the qualifier stats though, SV could have been one of those picks chosen, but we're going into hybrid 2 towards the horizon, the more stream focused hybrid, which is kind of interesting to see considering that the jump stream and hand stream map had been banned, which is kind of similar in nature toward this pit. I mean, personally, this is a pick that I thought that Jazzman would have probably wanted to ban had Rice 2 been protected or something like that. Because this map plays very similarly. While being different, they do share very similar qualities of kind of just jump streaming, hand streaming nature. But seeing as there are quite a bit of intrusive LNs, this could still go towards Jazzman's favor. Especially seeing Spade's kind of LN coordination within LN1. Definitely not being on top compared to Jazzman, but there is still potential for the pick to turn around. Here we go, we are getting into the main part where you're going to see more of these kind of intrusive LNs. A little bit faster streams in between, more jumps. A lot easier to mess up. But the LNs aren't really as difficult as some of the ones that you did see at the very start. But so far this lead just went to Jazzman. Especially seeing their LN accuracy, it does make sense why they're performing so well. I mean, this map being slower than Shelter, it definitely does give them a little bit more room to kind of act their way out of this. But you do get into a little bit of a slower part, which is good. It does require just a little bit of coordination, even if not a lot. And here we go, we are getting into the final part. The difficulty is definitely going to start to ramp up right here. But so far, both players still holding combo, with just Jazzman just having a lot better accuracy, most likely just due to having really strong LN accuracy in general. I mean, Spade is doing decent as well, but it's just not enough to catch up to Jazzman. Unless we do see a few misses coming from Jazzman, especially through this area, but it does look extremely unlikely. And that does give Jazzman the final point to bring it home. And to make it into the round of 32 winners bracket was a near 996, just short, but still a really strong score, especially coming from Spade as well. The 974 full combo very good scores from both players, but unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to go against Jasmine. And Spade will be going into the losers bracket. Jasmine making it into the winners round of 32. Albeit asleep, but still a very, very close match had there not been as many misses, or potentially just different picks, especially seeing something like Rice 3, where it was only a matter of just those two misses really costing that point. But there is one match that will surely be coming in within the next half an hour. Gonna be Mill versus Bump, so stay tuned for that one. But with that, I am your commentator and streamer Znow, and I will be seeing you in the next match.